Everybody in America loses because of what India is doing. The consumers and businesses and everything lose, and workers lose because India's high tariffs cost us jobs and factories and higher wages. And then the taxpayers lose because we got to fund Modi's war. The road to peace runs in part through New Delhi. That's Peter Navarro, a staunch Trump loyalist and the White House trade advisor. The very man who just days ago referred to India as a laundromat for the Kremlin. And now he's calling the war in Ukraine as Modi's war, doubling down on Trump administration's hardline stance on India. Talk about shifting the goalpost. This after a failed Alaska summit, one where the US president himself accorded a red carpet welcome to his good friend Putin, the very man branded as a war criminal by the wider West, including the United States. In fact, Navarro did not just stop at Russia. He then trained his guns at China, accusing India of cozying up to authoritarians. India, you're getting in bed with authoritarians. China invaded Aksai Chin and all your territory. They're not your friends. And Russia, come on. Now here's a quick reminder for Peter Navarro. Donald Trump has already been in bed with authoritarian China. Facts first. During Trump's previous presidency, China was the United States' largest trading partner in 2020. So much so, it held the top spot among US trading partners from the years 2015 up until 2018. In fact, till date, China remains among the top 3 trading partners to the United States, the other 2 being Mexico and Canada. This according to the US International Trade Commission. But like Trump, perhaps Peter Navarro too is missing out on the larger picture, that the highest US tariff on India will eventually impact his own people, the American consumer. To begin with, their kitchen cabinet. Majority of US export of cooking spices is from India. Last year alone, the United States imported more than $410 million in spices from India. So the 50% tariffs on the country's imports will drive costs higher. After all, cinnamon, pepper, nutmeg and cloves require tropical climates. Unfortunately, Trump can't grow them in the United States. And why just spices? India has been one of the biggest suppliers of diamonds to the United States for years. And that supply is now at risk. In fact, the supply of diamonds from India to the United States dropped significantly this year, soon after President Trump imposed new duties on imports in April. While the amount of diamonds imported to the US dropped, the duties paid on them stacked up from zero duties in January to $5.8 million in June this year. This according to the US Census International Trade data. Remember, India is a dominant force in the global market for cut and polished diamonds, and America, one of its largest buyers. The increase is set to disrupt the international diamond trade. Result, a massive increase in diamond retail prices in the United States. Let's now shift focus from goods to the US labor force. There's rising criticism in the United States of the H-1B visa. Indians are the prime beneficiary of it. Data from the US government shows that Indians account for more than 70% of all H-1B petitions approved each year since 2015. As a result, American corporations hired overseas talent at a cheaper cost. Moreover, who can deny the significant and influential role of Indian Americans in the US? Be it Google's CEO Sundar Pichai or Microsoft's Satya Nadella or the World Bank President Ajay Banga, these are just few of the many that make up for the indispensable contribution by Indian Americans to US economy. That the Trump administration is a case study in hypocrisy and contradictions is an open secret. India's tariff rates are the highest, as is the case with Brazil. The bitter irony being that New Delhi is Washington's strategic ally, one known to be anchored in global strategic comprehensive partnership, also reflected in the Quad grouping, one primarily created to counter China in the Indo-Pacific. Somehow, China's high purchase of Russian crude never became a thorn in the eye for Trump. Let's rewind to the time when Russia waged the war in Ukraine. It was the United States, including the G7 nations, that wanted India to buy cheap Russian crude, only to keep global energy prices in check. A revelation already made by then US Ambassador to India, Eric Garcetti. Interestingly, India already has found audience in other economies across the globe like the UK, EU, China, Africa and Australia. Nobody can deny that India does run a trade surplus with the US. And officials on both sides have known this, along with India's protectionist policies for industries like agriculture and dairy. India has already increased its purchase of American energy and defense to even out the balance sheet. But does anybody know what Donald Trump really wants? Your guess is as good as mine.
Been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.